Deontay Wilder takes on Tyson Fury, February 22nd. And this has been a long time coming. Obviously, there was over a year's delay from what we all thought might be an initial or an immediate rematch. But regardless, they both, or at least Tyson Fury took the long way courtesy of ESPN's $80-something million deal that, curiously, I think they must have lost an absolute rank fortune on that deal, considering who Fury has fought against the numbers that he's been generating. Obviously, they're hoping to recoup some of that in the Wilder rematch and then the rematch in August sometime, I think it's scheduled for. But regardless, I'm not here to talk kind of commercial value. We're here to discuss the fight. So I think that we can all pretty much agree that even if you thought it was a close fight, Fury won more rounds than Wilder in the first fight. I think that's almost by everyone a given. I personally didn't have too much issue with the draw. I think that people crying robbery, I know that will upset a lot of Fury fans, but I think people crying robbery need to remember that you don't get your nose bloodied, knocked down twice, and one of the two knockdowns knocked out completely for, albeit 1 or 2 seconds, and he was knocked out in the 12th round. That doesn't happen to you when you're boxing a systematic shutout. You don't see a jab that for some reason Wilder stopped throwing. I don't think it was through lack of success, but you don't see a jab landing as frequent as it does in a boxing masterclass. So I think a robbery is unfair. I do think that Fury could definitely make a case that he won the fight and he was hard done to, but personally I thought a draw was okay. Leaning towards a little bit unfair. Fury won more rounds. Clearly the better boxer, that's a given. However, in the rematch, I think that there are obviously a lot of dynamics and a lot of variables that have changed here. Most notably, and perhaps most famously, Fury changing up trainers with seemingly kind of 6 weeks to go. Maybe 8 weeks to go. That's a biggie for me, and I think for anyone. I think it's probably fair to say that Fury isn't going to learn a whole lot more at this point, at least not in a boxing style, a pure boxer style. I don't think there's much more he could learn from any trainer really we have right now. It would be fine-tuning what he already knows and polishing, I guess. And there's a reason why he either left Ben or why he thought the need to bring in a new wrinkle, something in addition to Ben. And from what I can garner from the interviews and the articles that I read, I think Fury wanted to bring in as an addition to Ben, and Ben maybe had said, no, it's me or nothing else. And Fury's like, well, sorry you feel that way kind of thing. I don't know that, but that's what I'm surmising from the situation. How much of an impact is Sugar Hill realistically going to have on Fury? I honestly don't know. And I think anyone saying for sure there's no way he's going to come out and box, you're probably right, but nobody can say anything with absolute certainty. I think Tyson Fury is probably the most unpredictable character in all of boxing right now. And curiously, I think Wilder was crazy to walk away from DAZN's 120 million, whatever it was, deal. Now, this isn't a PBC versus DAZN thing. I just mean that if he loses to Fury in February, Fury from past circumstance and past experience tells us he might retire after that win. And then Wilder's lost in the wind. You can't enforce a contract to a retiring fighter. Fury could retire and then come back a year later. Klitschko was a bit longer than that, but I think putting all your eggs in Tyson Fury basket is very, very risky. I would much rather have taken guaranteed money. Of course, Joshua went on to lose, so that's hindsight's different, but maybe, you didn't have to fight Brazil on DAZN. You could just have fought the two AJ fights. And I think it's fair to say that he would have got, he's losing ultimate control going on to DAZN. But for me, it's a safer option. But, it could be that not taking the deal was the best thing that he ever did. Maybe he knocks Fury out, knocks him out again in August, and then he commands that Joshua comes to PBC or whatever. But anyway, that I'm not really here to talk about that. I just think that I'm making the point that Fury is a very unpredictable fighter and an unpredictable character. And I think even to himself, he doesn't really know what he's doing one week to the next. He's just inconsistent, full of contradiction. Not in a debasing, not kind of devaluing the guy's character. It's just how he is. He can contradict himself in the same sentence sometimes. And I think, like I said, putting your hopes into somebody with that mindset is, for me, from a business perspective, it's unnecessary risk. But maybe they still see that as less of a risk than, watching Wilder go to a different platform to fight. But again, I'm really not here to discuss net worth or commercial value, just how the fight plays out. So, a very, very long way of saying, I don't think anyone can say with certainty that Fury won't come out and stand in the middle of the ring. Albeit unlikely, not impossible. Could definitely happen, and I could see it happening, for better or for worse. What do I think would happen if he does? I think he could knock Wilder out, providing he's always stepping off, which isn't something we've seen Fury do. Normally he's stepping off kind of on the back foot. Stepping off to the side on the front foot would be a new from what I've seen, and I've seen all Fury's fights. That would be kind of like a new addition, at least if he's doing it consistently. I don't know how Wilder would react to an opponent that's turning him on the inside. I don't think that's something he'd be training for, because it would be so unexpected. So maybe it's real. I don't know. I think if Fury sticks to what he did in the first fight, I think his victory really depends on what Wilder does. Now, I think the Wilder that fought Ortiz, Ortiz 2, 100% of the time loses to Fury in the rematch. He can't go in there waiting for one big punch. I think what he did in the first fight was the best way to beat Fury. I know some people disagree, maybe most people, but to fight Fury, it's a numbers game. If you throw 5 punches in a round, you have almost a 0% chance of landing. If you throw 20, 30 punches in a round, you only need 1 or 2 of these punches to land to either win the fight or at least look like you're doing damage, to have a chance of scoring the round. I think going low volume against Fury is the worst thing you can do. And I'm worried that that's what he's going to adopt. Just wait and wait and wait and wait. And Fury can, let's say he has a 95% chance of avoiding any punch that Wilder throws. If you only throw 5, you're not really testing that 95% very much. So for me, I would be going for volume. You don't have to load up on every punch the way he was in the first fight, but definitely continue to throw volume. Make sure you're sticking that jab out. Even if you're losing the battle of the jabs, it doesn't matter. Make sure that Fury's having to work. Make sure you're making him move. And don't follow him, cut off the ring, and just keep throwing that straight right. Throw it to the body. It's much more difficult for him to move a frame as large as he is. And to be fair, Fury usually moves with his feet more than his body, but he does have nice head movement. I just think that if Fury comes in with the same game plan as he did the first fight, it's for Wilder to lose. If he adopts the low volume, patient waiting game against Ortiz 2, I think he loses. I don't think not impossible, but that likelihood goes from slim to almost none. If Fury comes out swinging and stands, plants his feet and stands in the middle of the ring, I think it's more like a 60-40 in Wilder's favor. Maybe 70-30. Fury doesn't really have a great chin. He's been down multiple times in his career. Maybe most famously against Steve Cunningham, also Nevin Pikage, and there's someone else I think dropped him as well. I can't think who it was. But he's not a natural come forward fighter. He wasn't at the beginning of his career. I think it was his uncle that taught him the whole back foot, kind of Ali style. But if you gun to head, who do I think's going to win? I think Fury outboxes him for 12 rounds. I think maybe more emphatically than the first fight, and maybe similar to Klitschko, with Wilder second guessing himself and worrying about looking foolish. I don't think he worried about looking foolish in the first fight, and for me that was why it was closer than it would have been if he had been considering these things. But I think it's a good fight. I'm kind of a bit alarmed at the lack of buzz around the fight, but I've been noticing this is a bit of a theme with some of the big fights. I didn't feel overly excited with Prograis and Taylor. Ended up being maybe the second best fight of 2019. With my favorite by a long way being Inoue and Donaire for 1,000,001 reasons. But so I am excited for the fight. I just don't feel the buzz on the forums, on YouTube. I don't feel as much anticipation. I think because we've already seen it before, and Fury isn't really known as an entertaining fighter. A very entertaining character, but not really an entertaining fighter. And obviously to go from the 0 planned press conferences to the 2. That second one, I could only watch like 5 minutes of it. It was really, really cringe. I don't know who the presenter or who the MC was asking the questions, but it felt very awkward, very labored. It didn't really flow with the kind of Fury magic that we're used to seeing. I thought the first fight with the press conferences were amazing, the back and forth. I don't know whose decision it was not to do that again, but I just feel the second's a bit fabricated. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know who you think wins and why. Can you see Wilder knocking Fury out quicker this time? A lot of people think that Wilder's going to get the edge, that he will knock him out, he will get to him, which is very realistic, especially with the trainer change, but we'll have to see. Thanks, folks.